So today I just wanted to take a look at the 1985 film Something Wicked This Way Comes. The novel as well as the screenplay were both written by Ray Bradbury, and it's definitely an excellent piece of writing, especially the introduction at the beginning where you have the young boy who's looking back on this event in his life. It's just very poetic, very emotional writing and descriptions, and you really don't run across that type of writing anymore. It's pretty much just kind of like the art of writing is just pretty much dead in this day and age, which I just find really sad. But I definitely did enjoy revisiting this. I had not read the story since junior year in high school. Same thing with this film. I have not seen it since junior year in high school. So it's been forever since I've seen this, and it's still every bit as enjoyable as I remember it being. So you do have the story of two young boys. There is a circus that comes into town, and the two young boys quickly do discover that the circus is not all as it seems. So very quickly, I guess you could say, the townspeople start falling victim to Mr. Dark and his, I guess you could say, his carnival of wonders. But you do have the younger man who was a football hero. He is now a double amputee. He regains his missing limbs. You have the school marm who is just very homely and plain, who regains her beauty but loses her sight in exchange. And then, of course, you do have, I believe it was the barber who dreamt of all of these exotic women and wanted, to have a beautiful woman in his life. He became a bearded lady. But, it's very much a case of not only be careful of what you wish for, but make sure you know who you're dealing with before you actually do make some kind of a contract or an agreement. So it quickly becomes apparent who Mr. Dark is. In the story or in the film, he is referred to as the devil, and that is my main complaint there, because I don't actually believe him to be the devil or Satan or any evil entity. If essentially, I guess you could say he is the dark side of humanity, which is something that is present in all of us. We all have the light as well as the dark, so the two coexist. They're not two separate entities. In this situation, obviously, Mr. Dark deals in solely the dark side, and that's what he feeds off of when he tempts these people. Of course, they would not have a bit of dark in themselves if they weren't drawn to him, if they didn't fall for what was being offered. So to just be completely one-sided and just put all of the blame on him, I think that's just a bunch of nonsense, because obviously people do not have to give in to their vanity. They can rise above it, and so on and so forth. So to say that they are weak, yes, that goes without saying, but you can't just turn around and point the finger and say, oh, it's so-and-so's fault this happened to me. No, it's your fault because you chose that. But obviously the story was told in a completely different time period, and obviously under a completely different belief system. So you do have Mr. Dark, who is pretty much just being perceived as the devil. You also do have Pam Grier, who is playing the Dust Witch, I guess you could say Mr. Dark's female counterpart or companion. And the Dust Witch appears in various areas throughout the film as well. So I believe her first sighting is inside the block of ice. She is the Egyptian princess. She's also one of the dancers at the exotic women, the belly dancing type tent. But she's also the lovely lady on the Ferris wheel as well as the fortune teller. So she also has her own draw and her own bit of work that she's doing here as well. But, definitely an intriguing role for Miss Pam Grier. And, especially then as well as now, she's always been just a very beautiful woman, very lovely facial features, but she plays each role extremely well, to my, in my opinion, just very convincingly, and it's not due to her looks. She's actually, she's actually a very good actress, but, she, actually neither character, Mr. Dark as well as the Dust Witch, neither of them really come off as extremely menacing. They may threaten here and there. There's the one scene in the library where Mr. Dark is attempting to tempt one of the boy's fathers. He's ripping pages from a book as he's declining an age offers, but technically he's just kind of implying, you're running out of time to make your choice here. He's not actually threatening the man. It does come off as, I guess you could say, aggressive, but there is no actual threat there if you take the time to think about it. Yes, there's a great deal of tension, but no actual threat has been made. But people reap what they sow, so obviously they get what they ask for, but they have to deal with a consequence as a result. So it's very much a case of give and take, which, makes perfect sense. You can't get something without paying a price. Even though the film is set within a prior time period, I believe, of the 50s, the more, I guess you could say, the innocent time period, and the film itself was obviously released in the 80s, so it's definitely an older film, but I think it's the fact that it kind of has this timeless aspect, the fact that it's a period piece, kind of really does help prevent the film from becoming dated, but it's definitely an excellent film and a great piece of work. If you haven't seen it, then I would definitely recommend taking a look at it. It's definitely a very great story, but I guess it could be open to interpretation. Everyone will read into the story what I guess they want to see. Obviously, if you want to believe Mr. Dark really is the devil, as the characters are leading you to believe, then that is what you will see. But if you happen to be from a separate school of thought, maybe you will see it in a similar light to myself, whereas he's more a characterization of man's darker side. But, it's up to the viewer. That's definitely how you choose to interpret. But that is pretty much all I have for you guys today, and I will talk to you later.